Well, I'm back in the chair where I want to be, talking about the Melbourne Football Club. And this week, joining me, this is the preview show. Not going to be in here tomorrow night with the scallywags because we've just been whinging and moaning every single week about the Melbourne Football Club. We're not happy, but this bloke's always happy. Jake Bertone from Saints Team V. Welcome, mate.
Thanks for having me. Not sure I'm always happy, but put the smile on my face, just to cover it up. So good to be here.
You're pretty glass half full for me, to be honest. And we were just having a chat off air. I don't necessarily think it's about wins and losses for St Kilda at the moment. 5 wins for the season. Melbourne only 6 wins for the season. But you seem to be quite upbeat about the future of your football club. Where are you sitting with it all?
Yeah, it's been 6 losses in a row, which is, someone reminded me, it's the first time since 2018 that we've gone that long without a win, which is interesting. But I'm learning to look beyond the win-loss because, the average fan is very stuck in that space, very focused on sort of the end destination and not so much the journey. And that's been the case for a long time. I think that's just natural. But I think Saints fans getting on board, the youngsters getting on board what we want to do, and we know it's not this year, and we know the sugar hits, they come and go, and we've had those before, but hopefully moving into next year, there's a bit of positivity. And the good sign is we've played some good teams in the last 6 weeks, and we haven't, apart from the Dogs game, we haven't embarrassed ourselves. We've been in pretty much every game, so not too bad.
I would agree with that. I thought you were pretty good last week. I think a lot of people just expected Geelong to absolutely pants St Kilda last Sunday, but I thought for the most part you hung in, you fought till the end. I didn't think it was the worst loss in the world. Is that fair?
Absolutely, yeah. I think, especially given the start of the game where they kicked the first 5 and it was 30-1 pretty quickly, that was 29 points within 16 minutes of the game, and the final margin was 31. We got within 8 points, I think, twice, which is pretty hard to do, to bridge the gap that much, that quickly. So our second quarter was great. I think our pressure rating was at 268 or 270, which was great against a good team like the Cats. So it was the start. The rest of the game, we won 2 of the 4 quarters. So that kind of tells you in a nutshell the game. When we were on top, we probably didn't maximize the scoreboard damage, but when the Cats were on top, that's what they do at the Cattery. They maximize scoreboard damage, and that was pretty much the difference in the game.
Now, Jake, I know this is very much yourself jumping on the DeeBrief, and appreciate your time, but I want this to be interactive. I want you to throw a few questions my way about the Melbourne Football Club.
Yep.
We're pretty disillusioned. What are you interested in about what's happening down there at Melbourne?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. From my point of view, when I look at the Ds, even in sort of leading up to this game, and I'll mention in my preview when I do that on Friday, but I kind of liken the Ds to us in a way that I feel like you've been in a lot of games. I feel like you've beaten, you played Brizzy and you were excellent on that day. I remember watching your review and the big smile on your face, which was very nice to see. There it is.
That feels a long time ago, Jake.
Yeah, well, we haven't won in 6 weeks since we played you guys, matter of fact. But I feel like there's been some parallels there with the Ds and the Saints. I feel like you've got some good kids coming through. Cozzy's in incredible form. Same with Naz for us. So it's going to be exciting to see those two go at it on the weekend. But I don't know. I feel like, good to see Van Rooyen get some games finally. I don't know. I just feel like there's more there than maybe what some D's fans think. I don't see them as... I was worried about them at the start of the year, but I'm not so much now. I think you're playing some kids, Windsor, these sort of guys. I think it's all right. I think you'll be all right.
I love it.
Maybe I'm way out of whack, but I just feel like... you should have beaten Carlton. I did tip Carlton. I just felt like they weren't going to lose that many in a row, but
sure,
you probably should have beaten Carlton, and you've been in some other games, like the Adelaide game. I think you were in it for quite a bit, and we're pretty good that day. So,
this is the problem.
You are where you are, same with us.
We are where we are, but I think this is the problem. We've lost so many games that we have been in, and we've been losing games like that for a while now under Simon Goodwin. I think maybe there's a sense of Melbourne supporters overestimating how good the list actually is. There's a few vaunted champions like Viney, Petrarca and Oliver, who aren't the beasts that they once were. And I think modern footy has changed so much in the past 2-3 years. It's these more dynamic, flighty midfielders who seem to be doing the job. Naz is a great one. We'll come back to St Kilda. I really want to speak about him. And I was having a good chat to a few friends about some of the most exciting players in the competition, and he is absolutely up there. I thoroughly enjoy watching him play his football. I can imagine you thoroughly enjoy it as a St Kilda supporter.
Yeah.
You just got to lock him down, right? And what are you hearing? Is he committed to the football club? Are you expecting him to sign a big deal to remain at the football club for a while? Because he is a hot property. He's a phenomenal player.
Yeah, from what I'm gauging from various touch points, I would imagine he would sign on 2 years, and then that gives us that 2-year deadline to lift and to start building and hopefully climb up the ladder a bit quicker than what people think. We would have no choice at that point. If we don't, then he'll probably go in 2 years. And if we start competing and landing some free agents and challenging and climbing up the ladder, then that's going to entice him to stick around and to finish the job, really. So I think 2 years, I think we'll offer him some big money. I think it's a bit complicated because a lot of people are talking that, the TDK package is, his agents probably got wind of that, and maybe Naz should demand a little bit more. I think the South Australian clubs are offering him a lot up front, but we're offering pretty much the average across, whatever their 7-8 year deal would be. That's what we would be offering him, but we would offer more after 2 years. So we're not going to offer him insane money, I don't think, for the 2 years, but it'll be plenty. Like it'll be enough. But we're not going to sell our soul for a player that might want to leave in 2 years. As good as he is, if you know what I mean. I think a club would want the long-term commitment, but we probably won't get it. We'll probably just get the 2 for now.
Yeah, we take the 2, and I think you're right. Yeah. You take it knowing that hopefully St Kilda can bounce back up the ladder next year and beyond that, and you get some more talent into the football club, like a TDK and a few others, so that he sees that there's a promising future here and you're hopefully building back towards playing finals footy again. It's a funny one for us with Cozzy. I said it the other night. So why did he sign with us given the position we're in now? I am bullish on our kids. Like I'm normally quite glass half full, but I've been a little bit pessimistic and a bit downtrodden in recent weeks. And it's just because it feels like we're going through a vicious cycle of the same thing, just week in, week out. But Keziah Pickett is another player that I think he's a draw card for others, hopefully, to come and play football with him, one of the most exciting players in the competition. I would imagine if you're coming to St Kilda in this trade window and beyond, Naz is like that as well. Like come play with, again, one of the best players in the competition. So it's an interesting one to see Cozzy actually commit big, effectively a demon for life, or at least we can get him to the back end of his 20s, potentially even his early 30s, and get the best footy out of him.
Quickly ask before I forget. If you were in the old, obviously everyone loves these long-term, not everyone loves these long-term deals, but they look good on paper. But do you, if you had the option of Cozzy for 8 years and then maybe, the club rest on their laurels, maybe he does because he's got the long-term deal, he can get comfortable after this year, hypothetically, or a 2 to 3 year deal where there is that caveat, I will sign, but I want this club to be somewhere in 18 months' time and have that pressure to deliver. Would you rather that, or do you think there's pros and cons to both?
There's pros and cons to everything. I think ultimately he's been sold not only a lot of money, let's be frank about that, he's probably been sold on the opportunity for Melbourne to recalibrate and bounce back up the ladder. I do see a world where that can happen, and I think with the young core coming through and just continuing to play them and just continuing to develop them. So Rivers has come on in leaps and bounds. We've got to get him back into the midfield, though. I think we're limiting his development as a defender, even though he's a great rebounding defender. Cade Chandler had a great first half of the year. I think he's got all the tools. We're not maximising him properly. It's a really funny question, Jake, because part of me thinks that the recalibration for Melbourne needs to come with the new coach at the helm. And because he was very big on Simon Goodwin and what he's done for him in his career to date. However, I think if we're gonna get the best out of this group, which has a good blend of experienced senior players plus some really talented youngsters that we've seen play in, week out at the moment. Jake Bowie's a ripper. Daniel Turner's had a breakout season. I feel like resting on laurels probably won't happen with the Cozzy Pickett, because you look at his demeanour and what he says. He's so driven. He wants to emulate Cyril Rioli. He watches highlights of him before every game. He wants to be the best. He wants to be the main man. I think you saw that last week in what was essentially a bit of a dead rubber against Carlton. There wasn't really much to play for, and he just went out there and took the piss. So
yeah.
I'm into the idea of incentivizing players on 2-3 year contracts. And what I'd actually say to that, and I think there's some genuine validity in what you're putting out there, is Clayton Oliver's probably the classic example. Melbourne went with a big contract on crazy money. We've seen a decline in Clayton Oliver. Yes, there's some mental health issues surrounding that, and we need to be really delicate about that. But the reality is, one of the players who is arguably the best midfielder in the comp there for two or so years, he's won 2 Coaches Association awards. He's won 4 Best and Fairest. He's fallen off a cliff. And Kane Cornes, your mate, your best friend, has spoken about this. He's spoken about it a lot, right? The idea of giving players massive contracts. And I think to just jump ship and answer that question, you probably look back in hindsight and you say that was an error. That was an error of judgment by Melbourne, and probably an error of judgment by Melbourne to give Jack Viney a 4-year contract as well, given where he's at in his career. I reckon probably a 2-year contract would have made more sense. So it's a really interesting topic, contracts and the length of them. And I'm going to throw it back to you and talk about Cornsey, who's been engaging in a bit of hostility with Saints TV recently. Where do you sit on...
Just the Saints in general, really. Can't stand us.
Yeah, which is fine, because like, you know what you're building. You know you've got a lot of raw players and young players coming through. But where do you sit with it? I throw it back to you. If you're in the camp of let's give this bloke 6, 7 or 8 years, or let's incentivize players on shorter contracts, where do you sit?
So I can kind of understand with the Naz one. I kind of like that it puts the pressure on the club. And Ross is only signed until 2027 anyway. So I love that Naz, potentially Windy, these sort of guys will re-sign, but it'll only be up until Ross, because they don't know what's beyond that. So like, there's no point, like, we all as fans would love Naz to sign on for 10 years, but reality is he doesn't know who his coach might be after 2 years. He also doesn't know how good the club is going to be after 2 years. So I feel like on his end, I can understand that. But I also like that means that there's no time for us to sit back and relax. Oh, he's on an 8-year deal. He's locked away. Now we've got to prove it to him, and also prove it to all his mates and all the players that we want to get to the club, that we want, that we want to be a destination. So I don't mind that situation. Obviously Max King, he's on a long-term deal, so it's a bit different there. But I think from what I've been told, he took a significant pay cut, and that's just kind of to lock him in. He's a long-term project, and he's going to be that full forward for us. But for someone like Naz that has that go-home factor, and there's a club like Adelaide who are on the brink of being an absolute force for the next 5 years, you can see why he probably wouldn't sign that long-term deal. But I think Port's the one, but they've got nothing, so it's kind of on them.
Yeah, Port certainly have nothing except for their really cringe tear us apart at the start of their games.
Or their Yochi, just good Yochi down the road or something like that. If it came to it, mate, if we're losing our best player, you give us your best player. So thank you, we'll take Zach Butters. That's pretty much the only potential conversation that I think the club would ever entice.
I saw Bont, I think, this morning trying to entice Zach Butters to the kennel, which is absolutely mental from the Bont. He's just signed a new contract. I think he's going to be a doggy for life, and then suddenly he's turned recruiter. So it's interesting from the Bont. So I just want to go back to Kane Cornes. There'll be a lot of A lot of debrief listeners, viewers that don't know the stoush that has occurred between yourself and Kano. Take us into it. What's going down? What's the beef between you and Kane?
It started years ago. Like, I think it might have been 2022 or 23. I remember when Max King got injured and he tweeted season over, and it was like December or something like that. And I think that might have been 2022, and we made finals in 2023. You didn't hear anything after that, and King didn't play up until like round 8 or something. So he went quiet at that point. But it kind of kicked off because he said we'd finish bottom 4, even though he predicted us to win a final this year. So he kind of loves to go both sides. Saints will win a final. 4 weeks later, they're bottom 4. So he'll pick which headline is relevant and stick to it when it's right.
Oh, yeah.
And when it's
That
wrong,
sounds like
he'll forget the other one. It sounds like, classic. And so we won 3 in a row. The third win in a row, we were 3-1, was against Port away, which was a monumental win for us. It doesn't happen often. You know, playing a young side, going away to Port and beating them comfortably was awesome. And I just retweeted him and I'm just like, bottom 4, really? You know, like that. So he's just held on to that for the rest of the season. But it kicked off last week because he said that we have a glaring talent issue. And he named the only talent being Filippo and Taru. And I thought, holy shit, this guy hasn't even named Naz. And he probably doesn't even watch a single Saints game. He just looks at win-loss. He looks at Ross's presser and he pins Ross on calling us young. So I just, did a video on that. I think Tom Morris was part of it as well. I think they admitted they hadn't even watched us that weekend. And we just lost to Sydney by 5 points in the last 2 minutes. I'm like, this is just the laziest piece of shit I've ever seen. Like, that sort of journalism.
Job. That's their job.
Watch
footy.
Yeah. So I just did a video on that saying they're paid to watch football, but they don't watch St Kilda. I'm like, that seems pretty fair.
Yeah. And
then he hit back at that. He said maybe, I don't watch enough football. I don't watch St Kilda. Imagine a journo telling the guy that runs a fan channel for 7 years that he doesn't watch his own team.
Yeah,
how out of touch can you be? But
called you a clown, didn't he?
He called me a clown on the Friday. But they only read his response to me. They didn't read my response back to him, which was hilarious. So classic, you know how it is in that space. They'll pick one line, they'll use that, stick to that, and they'll forget the rest of the story. And then he's gone on today. I haven't done anything on it because I'm kind of tired of it because it happens every day now. But he's questioning why we would play Alex Taru on Jeremy Cameron for a couple of quarters. How it's bizarre. Why wouldn't we play our young, talented centre-half back on the best forward in the game to get some experience? Why the hell not?
Yeah, I agree. What, is it going to demoralise him? If there's anything I've learned about Taru, the Flying Viking, he has oodles of confidence. Yeah. Nothing's going to knock this bloke down. And I'm absolutely with you. I think the opportunity to see how the best go about it up forward is an incredible experience and exposure for a young kid like that, who I must say is insanely exciting. So, yeah, and that's probably the good thing about St Kilda at the moment. I know it's only the 5 wins, and this is probably why you're bullish. Guys like Taru, Naz, mate, Higgins has had an incredible season as well. Probably gets an All-Australian jacket, do you think still?
No,
not
anymore?
It'll
be Jamie. No, he's only kicked multiple goals maybe once or twice in the last 10. He started like a house on fire, averaging 3 goals, but he's fallen off. So he'll probably make the squad, but I don't think he won't make the team.
Again, but even making the squad itself, an insane achievement given that, again, won the 5 games. So it's funny to me. It's selective reporting. It's lazy reporting, but it's to be expected, I think, with a lot of these blokes. And I think a lot of them personally, and this is just my hunch, have it in for Ross maybe as well.
For sure. It's dead obvious, mate. It's not even a question of if they do. They 100% do. Every week there is a new topic about Ross. This week it's about how supposedly he said Darcy Wilson wanted to play at Sandy, but apparently that's not true or something, and there might be something going on with Darcy Wilson. But if anyone took 1 second to watch St Kilda this year, you'd see that Ross has given him chance after chance to play Sandy, come back in and deliver, and he doesn't. Gets dropped again, plays a good couple of games at Sand, he comes back, goes missing. So Ross has given him chance after chance. And you're not just going to play the kids for the sake of it. There's a balance. So we're playing a young enough squad. We're not going to go full tank and play 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds every week. So there's a fine line there, and you still have to earn your spot. Even if you're only on 5 wins, there's still selection integrity.
So this year for St Kilda, in the round, how do you feel? And I can speak about Melbourne as well. 6 wins. You could jump us on the ladder this week. It's an interesting scenario at the moment. I know Rob Crawford, who's about 2 metres away from me, is very excited about the prospect of St Kilda beating Melbourne because, of course, it will hand Essendon a greater pick. They have our first pick this year. So he's a big Saints fan this week. But how are you feeling about the here and now and what's transpired in the previous, 18 games?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird I haven't looked, up until yesterday on Footy Abroad when they got the ladder predictor off. I haven't actually looked at our ladder and win-loss. So if you had told me it was 6-13 or 5-13 or whatever it might be, I hadn't even known the exact numbers because I haven't even looked at it. That's kind of the space that I've been in, which is weird because usually the last couple of years, that's been a big focus, is looking at being obsessed with the win-loss. Where are we on the ladder? Who are we above? Who are we below? People saying, oh, Richmond are on the same wins as you. Mate, I couldn't give a stuff because when Richmond played Geelong away, they got belted. We didn't. When we played Port, we beat them. When we played Richmond, it's Richmond's biggest loss of the season. Fun fact. No one talks about it. So, it's funny. Yeah, win-loss works in one argument, and then when you delve deeper, it's just broken. There's nothing there. There's no substance to it. So for me, yes, I think we probably left a few wins on the board, but this year we're not winning a flag. This year isn't the flag year, the best we could do is probably finish 10th, and then people would say, well, Saints are in that no man's land again. They haven't gone lower. They haven't played the kids. Ross has played to win with a team that's not ready. That's the narrative that would have been developed. That's the alternative universe that people would have written about.
So next year, if it's a 6, 7, maximum 8 win year this year, how do you then feel about 2026? Is 2026 the year where you have to compete for finals? You have to be at least in that mix until the very end. What would the expectation then be?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the pressure would kick on 2026 and then hugely in 27, especially if Naz is contracted until that year. I think Filippo as well, possibly Windy. There's going to be a lot of out-of-contract players that year. And then obviously Ross too. We don't know beyond 27 what he's going to do. Could be Corey Enright handover after 27. But I think finals, it's very much, if we have a fit team on the park, we get all the acquisitions I've been told that we're absolutely into. And we have King fully fit, Filippo fully fit, Dougal Howard fully fit with Alika Lit, TDK, and then a couple others that I've heard about. On top of, resigning Naz, I think finals would be on the agenda. I think, look at Adelaide, 15th last year. They had 3 less wins than us last year.
They're a funny one because last year they lost a lot of close games. They were prolific as well. They just couldn't defend in transition. They couldn't defend ball movement well enough. They were still leaking scores, hence the losses that they had and the lack of wins that they ended up getting last year. They're a funny one for me because this is the 6th season under Matthew Nicks. So I feel like the penny was always going to drop. Last year, almost the year they had to have before this massive spike. And I like what you're saying there because it can all change very, very quickly. With a couple of gun recruits, a couple of key re-signings, as you've said, and some players that haven't been able to play because they've been unfit, they've been injured. Suddenly, it can turn around very quickly. St Kilda, interesting one for me because I think most people just think that you will be stuck in no man's land. You will just
That's what they hope. That's what they hope.
I don't know. It's just a funny one. I feel like there's a little bit of contempt there. I think it's the same for Melbourne. Like we're treated with a bit of contempt. People now going, oh, the gloss has washed off. Melbourne are back to where they once were. They're mediocre. They had their little moment in the sun, and now this is just classic old Melbourne, just sitting in the lower reaches of the ladder, probably not expecting to do much next year or the year after. And I think both football clubs get treated with a lot of contempt. And I think there's a lot of similarities between both football clubs just in terms of the lack of success that we've obviously had. And I think the media, coming back to them again, I think it's just so easy to get lazy.
Of course it is.
And just put us in that bracket and just go, oh, yeah, that's a little bucket with Essendon, St Kilda, Melbourne and Carlton. We're the 4. Oh, yeah, they're shit. Yeah, don't worry about them. They won't do anything. So one of us is bound out of that group. I think one of us is absolutely bound to bounce back at some point. It could be St Kilda. I've said to you personally, I actually think you've got a really good mix of players coming through. And
yeah,
it is easy to get hung up on win-loss. And I've certainly I'm hung up on win-loss this year because I'm not happy. But I can understand where you're drawing your optimism from when you run through some of the players that you spoke about just then.
Yeah, I mean we've missed our holes. We've missed our best tall forward. We've missed our best young midfielder who was supposed to have a breakout year and was amazing in pre-season. And we missed our fullback, our only fullback over 200 centimeters. So we've been forced to chop and change, and develop on the run. So it's not like we plan to have Hasty at halfback at the start of the year. That's just kind of organically happened. Taru has come on. Kamanides gone down back. We've seen Isaac Keeler. Dodson, who we drafted, is killing it as the ruck in the VFL, and I think he'll be a great long-term prospect. So, I think we're filling the gaps that we need to. And like you said with the contempt, it's the same when it comes to trying to acquire players from other clubs. It's like, why would St Kilda pay overs to... Well, do you know... why? In what world can we pay unders to get players from other clubs, from big clubs to a St Kilda? We have to pay... There is going to be a shit club tax. Do you know what I mean? Like, we have to pay an extra 200K to get some players in. But once you start winning, you don't have to do it. So it's an investment at that point. You have to get these players in, back your system, back your development, and then start winning. And then you can start acquiring players for what they are and not pay overs. So, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't at this point in time until you start winning. And that's where we're at. We can't do anything right. We couldn't, if we don't play the kids and, we start winning games, our ladder position looks good, but we're not prepping for the future. We're delusional. We're not going to win it. We're wasting everyone's time. You play the kids and then they're like, hey, but why are you playing the kids on good players? 2 years ago, we put Windy on Neil. No one said anything. Windy was 20. Neil was a Brownlow medalist. I didn't hear the same uproar with Taru on Cameron. You know what I mean? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
But no one bats an eyelid at that one.
That's a good point. I like it.
Yeah.
Shit club tax. That absolutely got me. That is spot on.
I've said that all year. That's 100% what we need to do to acquire at the moment.
Yeah. Any Melbourne questions for me before we turn our attention to this game and start to wrap up? Anything Melbourne? Anything you're curious about? What do Melbourne supporters think of this player or the coach? Well, yeah.
Melbourne supporters walking into the weekend thinking, yeah, we're going to get the job done. We've lost to some good teams. Saints are shit. We need to make up for last week against the Blues.
No, I think, just to be really frank with you, I think there is a significant portion of Melbourne supporters that are quite checked out.
Okay.
Disillusioned, not happy with the place that the football club is in. It's actually incredibly gloomy at the moment.
That's surprising. That's I know it's been gloomy for clubs like Carlton. I know Essendon a little bit, but they can hang their hats on injuries.
Sure.
And they can pretend that everything's okay when they get those players back. He's just
they want to tank, mate. They want to finish 17th, I think. They want to pick 2, and then
if you really want to tank. If they really are tanking, you play Jade Gresham.
Poor Jade.
Poor Jade. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're not feeling good, Jake. we're not
I'm
feeling good.
surprised though. You weren't sold to make you weren't expecting to make finals this season, were you?
Well, I think we probably got sold the
Really?
dream. Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of, me included, probably drank the Kool-Aid for a little bit there. When we started 0-5, this is the worst thing that happened. We started 0-5, implementing a new game plan, and then it clicks and we win 5 of our next 6. And then this is the juncture. You blokes, we kicked the 7-21 up there in the NT against St Kilda, and that was the game that just, I think, cooked our chances of going on a merry run or extending the run. We would have been 6-6 and just outside the 8, and one of the most informed teams in the comp leading into King's Birthday. You lose King's Birthday by a point, and it was just so deflating. And from that point onwards, we knew that finals wasn't on the cards. We went back to some bad habits. We were playing favourites in the same positions that they shouldn't have been played in. It's all about preservation and not getting whacked off the park. And then we lost another 5 games in a row, starting with St Kilda up there in the NT. So that's the problem. We had
that paints the picture a bit more.
Yeah, because you've got this incredible depressing low of starting the season 0-5 and being belted in most of those games. Like North beat us by 60 points. It was disgraceful.
I mean, we lost to West Coast away.
True.
Their only win.
I know. But, and then I think having that high is almost the worst thing that could have happened to us, because it gave us this great sense of false security when you look back on it. We tore Sydney apart. Admittedly, they had a lot of outs, and they're a much better outfit than us when they've got all their troops in their lineup. And we thought we were back because we'd won 5 of our last 6, and the week prior we'd just beaten the Lions at the Gabba. So that's why it probably stings so much, and probably why there's so much doom and gloom, because from that point onwards, since that Sydney win rather, we have lost 6 of our past 7 games. So that probably gives you a better understanding of why we're feeling the way we are.
That sounds very similar to our I think it might have been the start of our 2018 season. I remember we played the D's at the G and we spanked them, and I think we were top at that point. It was like 4. We were 4-1 after 5, and we finished bottom 6 that year at the end. It felt like, that's that classic case of the sugar hit. The little spike, you're like, oh, we're actually could be. Oh no, we're not actually, because the other teams sorted their shit out. Everything stabilizes at one point, and you are where you are, and it's probably a more true reflection of right now, and not so much the future, but right this very second where both our clubs are at. But I think both of our clubs can absolutely climb the ladder if we do, do the right business in the off season and not play the favourites. That's something we're slowly not doing. Some people still give Brad Hill a lot of shit, which is fair because he's been a bit average this season. But Zach Jones isn't playing as much. We're playing the dual rucks, which no one thought Ross would do. He's swinging Turu forward. We're experimenting, and we're playing Naz on the ball, which I put my hand up and said I don't think that was. I said that maybe 10 weeks ago. Nah, he's a half backer. He's not a mid. He's making me eat my words every single week, Naz. So there's a lot there to work on, but there's also a lot there to like. So I think for the D's, it's the bad habits. It's the playing the favourites. That's the thing you said that jumps out to me. If you're not doing that, and you're losing, but you're playing a good brand of football, tick.
Sure.
But if you're playing favourites, you're sticking to what you know, and it's still not working. Yeah, I can understand that frustration.
You're starting to get it. That's the world we're living in at the moment. We're just constantly playing the same players. The CBAs are the same. It's Oliver, Petrarca, Viney. It's been a problem. Those 3 in there. We need to freshen it up. Cozzy going in there was the most obvious thing in the world, so I'm not going to give Goody a tick for that. And then other than that, we really haven't made any positional changes. There's some players who are playing some good footy at Casey that haven't been promoted. It's the same old shit. Rinse and repeat. And I think the other reason why we're feeling the way we're feeling is because there is no freshen up. There is no change from week to week. And it's not a great place to be in. And just back to this game, as we wrap up, give our predictions and our thoughts, we're not really feeling it. Like we're going through the motions big time. And I think it's a good opportunity for St Kilda definitely to get win number 6 on the board, get some nourishment with these kids that you've got. I'm not expecting us to win this game. Not at all.
Okay.
And I actually can't believe we're favourites. I think that's astonishing, just given the way that we're tracking. It feels like the coach's messaging is not working. It feels like the players aren't heeding it at the moment. We have 20, 30-minute periods in games where we just completely drop our bundle and teams get a run on us, and that's it. That's the difference in the game. You guys did that to us in the first quarter up in the NT, where you got on a run on, and again, that was the difference in the game. Yeah, we kicked 7-21, but my God, we gave you not an almost unassailable lead, but we gave you the impetus. We gave you that injection of belief so early that you could go on with it and you could actually chalk up 4 points. And it's hard when you're chasing a game. There's extra pressure on the kicks and the set shots, and we saw that when we played you. So,
yeah.
So I'm not confident in the slightest. The other thing, it's not even a confidence level or anything to do with that. I can guarantee you there will not be many Melbourne supporters at Marvel Stadium. There never really is anyway, but I won't be there. I've got a
Sunday
4th birthday, but like there won't. It'll be 90% St Kilda at the ground as well. So I think it's a good chance for you to go and chalk up a win against us. Yes, there's a world where Melbourne can obviously win that game of football. I understand that, but I'm not feeling it at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, I looked at it as kind of a 50-50, so the odds didn't surprise me, but yeah, I kind of think that we haven't had that nourishment. We haven't had that reward for effort in the last 5 weeks, playing some, like the average position of the teams who've played in the last 6 weeks is 6th.
Yeah.
And the average losing margin is 23 points in that period. So, and that's including the Dogs beating us by 70,
Sure.
So the rest of the games have been like 10 points. I think it was 10 points late in the 4th against the Pies. We were 2 goals up against Freo away. We were leading the whole game against the Swans. So there's been games there we probably could have won in 12 months, say in 12 months time, a bit more experience. We can play them out a bit better, but yeah, the next 4, we've got D's, North, Richmond, Bombers.
Oh, wow.
So I want us to win all 4.
You could win all 4. You almost should win all 4, in my opinion.
I just think that we've gone through that patch where we've played the top teams, haven't quite taken it up to them for long enough, been good enough. But it's so important to, I think, belt the teams around us, because that reminds St Kilda supporters, and maybe other people can take notice that, no, we're not actually a bottom 4 team. We are there because of a win-loss. But like I said before, look deeper. We probably are better than sort of some of these teams around us.
Yep.
But I can't really say that with any great confidence. We did lose to West Coast, but that was, 8-9 weeks ago, and it was a big week for them, as we all know.
True. Now, Windy did a job on Cozzy last time. I think it's clearly the onus is on Cozzy. If it happens again, he lowered his colours. Windhager was amazing that day.
Yep.
Cozzy, surely in the back of his mind, is like, probably my worst game of the season. I've just come off kicking 5 goals against Carlton and having the 23 disposals, the 2 goal assists. He was everywhere. He was crazy. I need to back it up. And I also owe the supporters one for that performance. And again, Windhager was incredible, but I think that'll be a really interesting matchup. And I think it probably should happen again.
Potentially. Windy hasn't tagged really since the Dacos tag from 3-4 weeks ago. And he's had career best numbers. Like, I think the Sydney game, he had 36, which was the best he's ever had. He's had some big games in the last month. I think he's averaging about 30 possessions a game at the moment when he's not tagging. So it'd be interesting. Yeah, I think the last 6 weeks we haven't played a typical Ross Ball defensive type game. We've definitely opened the games up. We're taking the games on. So it wouldn't surprise me if it's kind of just see how the game goes head to head, and then if he gets off the chain, then you tag him. But Cozzy is sort of the main worry when I think about Melbourne. I don't think about Track. I don't think about Clary. Gawn and Cozzy are the two. They're kind of the main two that come to mind for me. And May's not playing. May's out, right? He's suspended.
He is, but I'm not big on May at the moment anyway. Just
Yeah, but for us, for a team that's played mainly an undersized forward line with Sharman and Owens,
yeah,
No May is a big up for us. And having Heath in as well as that 202 centimetre just full forward with Rowe rotating, I think, we potentially can exploit that a bit better than maybe against some of these other teams that have had some stacked backlines.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Gawn definitely a key for us. Cozzy an obvious key. The other one I'll give you, he's actually been in really good form, but he hasn't been spoken about, is Bailey Fritsch. He's turned a corner finally.
True.
He's playing some of his best footy again. He's playing a higher role up the ground, which seems to suit him. And I think he is potentially another one for us. If he continues his strong form, he could also be a difference maker in the game. Look, I sit here with my tail between my legs, Jake. I'm not going in expecting to win. Again, I can't believe we're actually favourites before this one. There is a lot of doom and gloom. Would I like to win a game of footy? Yeah, I'd like to win a game of footy. It'd be nice to win on Sunday. And it'd be nice to see us play some good footy. I'm not feeling it right now, but it wouldn't surprise me, given the fact that, as you said before, St Kilda have been in a lot of games, and you've lost six in a row. Maybe you've lost the art of knowing how to win a game of footy. Maybe that gives us a little bit of encouragement on Sunday.
Yeah, there'll be I think it's going to be a game where I think the momentum's going to shift. I'm hoping we don't give you that many scoring shots like we did last time. I think that got a bit out of hand. You had over 25 scoring shots in that game, which is, on another day, that's a big score. So I'd like to think we can manage that a little bit better, but I think that comes down to the midfield. So if we've won clearance almost every game in the last 6, contested ball almost every game, tackles almost every game. So all the stats are there for us to be in the game. I don't sit here thinking that we'll lose by, like, if we lost, it wouldn't be a smashing. I'd be stunned if we walk away and it's a bloody 8-goal loss to the D's. I think that's when people will be like, okay, didn't expect that. That's a major red flag there, but it hasn't happened in the last 5, so I'm hoping it doesn't happen. But the issue is, for me, we've played some top teams. We've had to lift for those games, if that makes sense. So we've had to be switched on for 4 quarters because we know the alternative is not be switched on and get embarrassed. I don't want to then see our boys look at the fixture for the next 4 and go, bit easier. Let's just, relax a little bit. No, just play with that same intensity and hopefully get the reward at the end of the day.
Give us your prediction. What are you thinking?
My prediction, I think Saints and D's lately have played some, or maybe not lately, but over the journey from memory at Marvel, there've been some close games. So I don't think it'll be beyond 5 goals either way. I'll go Saints by 21. I'm
going to have to do 2 predictions. I'll have to do the head and the heart.
Yes.
Well, I have to. So
the head, okay, yep.
Maybe they both say we lose.
Nah, not possible.
The head says a similar margin, maybe a little bit less, 14-point loss. St Kilda get the chockies. Then my heart says Melbourne just decide to pull their finger out. They never play 4 quarters, so maybe they'll play 2.5 quarters, and then in the other quarter and a half, St Kilda don't capitalise in front of goal when they've got their momentum. Maybe you kick in accurately this time, like we did the first time we played you this season, and Melbourne walk away with a 14-point win themselves. And Cozzy's the difference because Windy doesn't run around with him. There you go.
I wonder if will there ever be a centre bounce where we see Naz, Cozzy head to head?
Would love that. I think so.
That'd be unreal.
I think so. I think they're good friends as well. I think I may have seen them on the socials together and all hanging out. There's a little crew out my way, and you're out my way as well. Yeah, out there in the burbs of Bentley, Carnegie. So, I think they're quite friendly. So it'd be good to see them going head to head. As I said off the top, mate, they are unbelievable talents, super exciting players. It's nice when things aren't going your way for your football club, and you can at least hang your hat on these imperious footballers like these two are. But look, Sunday, It's going to be a weird atmosphere. It's almost like a preseason game in some respects. It's a dead rubber. Maybe we might get something exciting, as you said. We might get a bit of a shootout. It's an enjoyable game. I see some growth in players. You see some growth in players. And may the best team win, Jakey boy.
Yep. Fingers crossed it's us, but thanks for having me on, mate. We'll see what happens on Sunday.
Mate, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for jumping on as always. This is a Melbourne channel / podcast, but go and check Jake's work out, especially your reactions after the game. Always very raw. I know Eric Banner himself. I just started watching his new TV series. He's tuned into your lives after the game when you interviewed him a few years back.
Yep.
It's always a good watch, and I've been jumping on the iPhone this year. I sound like a grandpa. I've been jumping on the phone after games and giving my thoughts. I feel like I need to channel a little bit more of you. You're a little bit more measured, a little bit more balanced. I think I'm a bit of a headless chook, but I certainly do enjoy it.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for watching them, mate. I watched yours as well. I actually get a lot of hate after mine because I'm too level-headed sometimes, and people just want me to let rip. So there's that. You got to pick and choose your battles sometimes.
Mine are terrible. If we win, I'm just like, we're fucking amazing. If we lose, I'm just like, rip it up. God. Anyway, I'm Jekyll and Hyde, but that's the life of a Melbourne supporter, and I'm sure it's the life of many St Kilda supporters as well. Thanks a lot, mate. We'll obviously chat soon and enjoy the game on Sunday.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.